I'll put you in Brad Treliving's shoes. As it stands right now, from today, March 24th, how would you manage and deal with the Mitch Marner situation heading into the postseason?
So this is gonna be a cop out answer, but I got to see how the postseason plays out. He's playing almost as we thought he would play this season. He's on pace for 90 to 100 points, not more than 100 points, which is something that we've expected from him, especially last season when he finished with 99. So you'd expect that he's going to be another good regular season performer. If he does not produce in the postseason, changes have to be made. And he ain't coming back. Because I look to the very top of Maple Leaf sports and entertainment. And Keith Pelly said that we're not just here to sell jerseys. And they sell a lot of Mitch Marner jerseys, but they don't want to just sell Mitch Marner jerseys if they're not going to win. And if they don't win in the playoffs again, if it's just a one and done first round and exit, or another real quick second round exit, even at the hands of a tough opponent, Mitch Marner's gone because you cannot. What's the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over and over again. It's cliched to say at this point when in regards to the Toronto Maple Leafs, but you can't. You're just banging your head against the wall consistently. So take whatever Mitch Marner's cap hit was going to be. If you're going to pay the guy an exorbitant amount, like $16 million to match his jersey number or whatever the hell you're going to do, take that and apply it elsewhere throughout the lineup. Or take, because what's your biggest problem been? Depth. Another big problem. You haven't been able to score in the playoffs. Postseason score, someone that can play up and down the lineup, somebody you can spread out the core four. Matthews finds somebody else to play with. He can't come back if they don't produce well, which is a bit of a cop out answer. I'm sorry, Albert, because at this point, it's hard to say exactly what you should do with Mitch Marner before we see results.
I hear a lot about when people are talking about the Mitch Marner situation. That wait until the postseason, let's see what happens. But let's just say the Toronto Maple Leafs make a deep run, they go to the Stanley Cup final, and they lose. Just because they made that deep run, and maybe Marner contributed. I mean, he would have to, I think, for the Leafs to go that deep. Why does that mean that you have to bring him back?
I would say it's because the team has proven that a lineup featuring top heavy skilled players does indeed have the ability to get ish done. They've said forever, they being the core four, every time they're eliminated, we were right there. We were right there. We were so close. We just needed a bounce here or there. And let's say they get those bounces and then they demonstrate that they have the ability to actually win as a team, as a core. I think that you would have to look at that and you would have to believe them and you'd have to bring them back. And Mitch Marner's already on pace to be one of the greatest Maple Leafs of all time statistically. It seems like it would be foolish to let somebody of his skill set just walk away when all of a sudden he's proven that you can get that close. And let's say it is that close. If it's this close, this close,
Right.
then he ain't bringing him back. But they have said over and over, they being the core four, that we can do this. We were close. We could have done this. Even look to last year when they lost to Boston in overtime of game 7. The puck bounces one way, the other way. Morgan Riley beats David Pastrnak to that puck in overtime. The Leafs go back the other way and they score. Maybe this entire different conversation. Maybe they've already extended Marner because he had a brilliant second round or something like that. That theory, that scenario doesn't seem like it's out of the realm of possibility to me.
I get what you're saying, but I think the Colorado Avalanche proved what you can do when you have that type of cap space. And you're willing to be that ruthless with a superstar and a guy who actually won the cup with them, Mikko Rantanen. They got rid of Mikko Rantanen. Okay, before that, they completely changed their goaltending in the middle of the season. They weren't. McFarland was like, I don't. These goalies aren't going to cut it for me. Flipped both of them. Brought in two goalies. Out of nowhere, flips Rantanen to Carolina in one of the biggest heists I can remember in NHL history. Brings in Martin Necas to play on the top line with Nathan McKinnon. Then at the deadline, goes out and gets Brock Nelson, Charlie Coyle, and he also got Jack Jury in that Carolina trade and
Mm-hmm.
completely changed their team. And they're better now with more depth and goaltending and defense. So I'm not saying Mitch Marner is the problem. This isn't a thing where I'm just going after Mitch Marner. He's the guy who's a free agent right now who's going to command a lot of money. And cap space is so important with the cap going up in the near future. I mean, next season and obviously near future, it's going to get north of 100 million. The Toronto Maple Leafs are an organization that's going to benefit from that. So you're going to want to have as much cap flexibility as possible. I don't think even if he has so much success in the playoffs, that necessarily means that you have to lock him up. I think they really need to consider their depth and what they do with that money, because even now they're still trying to figure out who their second line left winger is. They don't have a true third line center. They don't know what their fourth line is. Beyond their top four defensemen, after that, we have Ekman Larson and Benoit and Myers. It's a bit of a crapshoot. So I think it's paramount for them to at least consider letting Marner walk to bring in that cap space to acquire a few more players who can help throughout the lineup and on your top line.
I don't disagree. I don't disagree with that theory, and especially if I'm Mitch Marner, I, I'm at the very least going to market,
Oh yeah,
or I'm going to get permission to speak to other teams before July 1 and say, this is what I'm being offered. Can you offer comparable? Otherwise, like the Carolina Hurricanes want to offer him 16 mil over 7 years. You say, okay, we can give you that over 8, minus the difference in 16 over 8 years.
right.
You have to. Mitch Marner is going to go to market and say, I want this much money, and the Leafs are going to say, where else can we put these assets? Your example of the Colorado Avalanche is a decent one, and it's well told and it's well heard, I think.
Yeah,
Hasn't necessarily it hasn't worked yet, but it's a hell of an example, a hell of a blueprint to say we didn't like what we were doing. Let's reinvent the wheel mid-season. Chris McFarland and Joe Sakic did a terrific job doing that. So if the Avs go on a deep run and the Leafs falter again, then a lot of people are going to look at the Avs and say, look what they did. They weren't afraid to make tough calls. Maybe we have to follow that decision. And maybe Keith Pelly's looking at that right now and agreeing. Brad Treliving as well, also looking at that and agreeing. The Leafs have a lot of shit to figure out in the meantime, in between time.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's a lot still to happen for the Toronto Maple Leafs, and it's not like if Marner does leave, they're void of superstars. They have Austin Matthews and William Nylander for the foreseeable future. Two pretty good players. Hey, if you like that video, make sure you check out our last one where we talk about how crucial it is for the Toronto Maple Leafs to win the Atlantic Division. And make sure you hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and the notification bell, because we'll be dropping more parts of the series, 2 more tomorrow.